The night before sail fire. Close your eyes and travel with me to a world you've never known. A world where the sun sets and absolute darkness swallows everything. No streetlights, no flashlights, no warm glow from a fireplace waiting at home. Just cold. Deep, bone-chilling cold that creeps through animal skins and settles into your very soul. This is the world before fire, before humans learned to create their own warmth. And somehow, against all odds, people survived. Not just survived, they thrived. Tonight, we're going to discover something incredible. Something that will change how you think about survival, about warmth, and maybe even about yourself. Because the story of how ancient humans stayed warm without fire isn't just about the past. It's about human ingenuity that lives inside all of us, waiting to be remembered. Before we step into that frozen world together, I want you to do something from me. Hit that subscribe button right now, not later, not maybe, but now, because what you're about to hear is part of a journey, and I don't want you to miss a single moment of it. And drop a comment telling me where you are right now. Are you in bed? On a couch? What time is it where you live? I love knowing that we're all connected across time and space, just like those ancient humans were connected around something far more precious than fire. Now here's something special. If the sleep has been difficult for you lately, if you toss and turn and can't seem to find that deep rest your body craves, I've created something just for you. The Caveman Sleep Challenge. 7 days of ancient wisdom that will reset your body's natural rhythm. You'll fall asleep faster, sleep deeper, and wake up feeling truly alive. There's a 1-day reset available right now in the description below. Or if you're ready for the full transformation, grab the complete 7-day challenge. Your ancestors knew how to sleep. Let me show you how to remember. Alright, let's go back. Way back. 400,000 years ago. Fire existed, sure, but humans couldn't control it. Lightning might strike a tree, a volcano might erupt, but you couldn't summon flame whenever you wanted. You couldn't turn it on like a light switch. If you were incredibly lucky, you might find a burning branch and carry it for a few hours before it died. And then what? Then you return to the cold. So here's the question nobody asks. How did they do it? How did entire communities of humans, Neanderthals, early Homo sapiens, survive winters that would kill a modern person in hours? The answer isn't what you think. They didn't just endure the cold like shivering victims. They became masters of it. They learned secrets that we've completely forgotten. Think about this for a moment. Every ancestor you have, every single person in your family tree going back thousands of generations, survived without central heating, without electric blankets, without any of the things we think we can't live without. They figured out something profound about warmth, something we're going to rediscover together tonight. The first secret was so simple it almost sounds stupid. Location, but not just any location, perfect location. Caves that faced away from the wind, usually toward the south or southeast. They learned through painful trial and error which directions the winter storms came from. One wrong cave meant death, one right choice meant survival. And caves aren't all the same, some are just holes in rock. Cold, damp, miserable. But others, the special ones, had something magical. Natural curves and chambers that trapped air, reduced drafts, created pockets of stillness where warmth could gather. The deeper you went into these caves, the more stable the temperature became. While outside might plunge to deadly cold, deep inside the earth stayed around 50 degrees. That doesn't sound warm to us now, spoiled by thermostats and heaters. But to them, it was the difference between frozen death and another morning. Here's where it gets interesting. They didn't just find these caves by accident, they mapped them, not on paper because writing didn't exist yet, but in memory, in stories passed from parent to child. Which caves breathed warm air, which ones stayed dry, which kept out predators and wind. They created mental maps of survival, invisible highways of warmth scattered across the Ice Age landscape. Imagine arriving at one of these places as the sun sets. Your family has been walking all day through snow, your feet are numb, your fingers barely move, but you know this cave. Your mother told you about it, her mother showed her. You brush away the snow from the entrance and crawl inside, and you feel it. That faint breath of warmth rising from the earth itself. It's subtle. Person might not even notice, but to you, in that moment, it feels like the embrace of life itself. But location alone wasn't enough, they needed insulation, so they built it from whatever they could find. Animal hides, moss, dried grass, layers and layers pressed together on the cave floor. This wasn't random, this was engineering. Each layer trapped air, creating primitive insulation that functioned exactly like a modern sleeping bag. They didn't know the physics, they didn't need to. Their bodies taught them what worked. And then came the most important innovation of all, each other. Human bodies produce heat constantly, about 100 watts of thermal energy per person. Alone, that heat escapes into the cold air and vanishes. But pressed together, shoulder to shoulder, breathing in rhythm, something magical happens. The heat multiplies. It reflects back and forth between bodies. The air in the space between people warms and stays warm. Modern scientists studying hunter-gatherer groups in cold climates found that sleeping in clusters can raise the temperature several degrees. Add thick fur clothing stitched from reindeer or bison, and you have a surprisingly effective heating system. Picture it, an entire community breathing together in the dark. The soft sound of air echoing off stone, each exhale slowly warming the space. Bodies arranged carefully, the elderly and children in the protected center. The strongest adults on the outside taking the brunt of the cold. This wasn't just survival. This was love made practical. This was community written in warmth. But wait. Before you think this is just a nice story about people huddling for warmth, let me tell you something that's going to surprise you. They didn't just huddle passively. They were active participants in their own survival. They understood something about the human body that we've forgotten. That you can generate warmth through movement even in the coldest conditions. Before settling in for the night, they moved. They worked. They prepared hides, moved stones, shaped tools. This wasn't just busy work. This was deliberate body heat generation. By the time they finally lay down to sleep, their muscles were warm, their hearts were pumping steadily, their bodies were mini furnaces ready to radiate heat through the long night. And here's something that might make you uncomfortable. They probably slept with animals, not as pets exactly, but wolves, early dogs, even small prey animals brought inside for protection became accidental space heaters. A few animals sleeping nearby could add significant warmth to an enclosed space. So technically, yes, the world's first heaters had 4 legs and fur. Now you might be wondering, did this actually work, or is this just speculation? Well, archaeologists have found something remarkable. In caves across Europe and Asia, they've discovered sleeping areas with compressed layers of moss and plant material beneath multiple animal skins. These aren't random piles, they're designed platforms. Raised beds that kept people off the freezing stone floor. Air trapped underneath provided additional insulation. The body heat of a few people combined with these natural materials could create a microclimate several degrees warmer than the surrounding air. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you really felt cold? I mean truly dangerously cold. Most of us never experience it. We go from heated homes to heated cars to heated buildings. We've lost touch with what our ancestors knew intimately. That cold isn't just uncomfortable, it's deadly. And that warmth isn't just pleasant, it's everything. If you're enjoying this journey into the past, do me a favor, tap that like button. Let me know you're with me, because we're just getting started. The secrets of ancient warmth go so much deeper than you can imagine, and some of what you're about to learn might actually change your life. Nature's hidden heaters. So we've talked about caves and clustering together for warmth, but there's something else going on here. Something that sounds almost like magic until you understand the science. Our ancestors discovered geothermal energy, not through books or laboratories, but through cold feet and desperate experimentation. Geothermal energy is heat from inside the Earth. In some places, that heat rises close to the surface. Warm springs, volcanic vents, areas where the rock itself radiates warmth. And ancient humans found these places like heat-seeking missiles. They returned to them year after year, generation after generation. Archaeologists studying places like Lazaret Cave in France and Grotta di Castel in southern Italy found something fascinating. These sites show evidence of repeated seasonal occupation over thousands of years. The same families, the same communities, coming back to the exact same spots every winter. Why? Because these places had something special. Natural warmth. Now here's where this gets controversial. Some scientists argue that humans followed animal migration patterns. Others say no, they followed thermal patterns, that our ancestors were essentially chasing invisible heat maps across the landscape. Who's right? Maybe both. But think about what this means. Before written language, before maps, before any of our modern tools, humans had the ability to mentally catalogue which locations offered the best thermal advantages. That's not primitive. That's sophisticated environmental intelligence. Let me paint you a picture. You're part of a small group moving through a frozen valley. The wind cuts through your clothes. Your lips are cracked from cold. Someone in your group, an elder maybe, stops and sniffs the air. They point toward a rocky outcrop. That way, they say. Not because they see anything, but because they remember. 20 winters ago they sheltered near those rocks and felt warmth. You follow, and when you arrive you discover a small fissure in the earth where warm air rises. Not much, just a gentle breath. But enough. Enough to make the difference. This knowledge was power. Groups that knew where the warm places were survived. Groups that didn't died out. It's natural selection, but not based on physical strength or speed. Based on memory, on the ability to learn and pass on environmental knowledge. But here's something that might blow your mind. They didn't just use natural geothermal heat. They enhanced it. In some caves, archaeologists have found evidence of deliberately constructed stone walls that seem to serve no purpose. No defensive value, no obvious function. Until you understand thermodynamics, those walls were heat management systems. They directed warm air from deeper in the cave towards sleeping areas. They blocked cold drafts from the entrance. They created convection patterns that maximized whatever natural warmth existed. Think about that. 400,000 years ago, humans were building airflow management systems, without understanding physics, without equations, without any of the tools we think are necessary. Just observation, just thousands of nights of feeling where the warm air moved and where the cold air settled. Now I know what some of you are thinking. This sounds too clever, too advanced. These were primitive people, right? Stone Age brutes? Wrong? That's a myth we need to destroy right now. The humans living before fire were not stupid. They were us. Same brain size, same intelligence. They just had different challenges. And they solved those challenges with creativity and brilliance that would put most modern people to shame. Here's a thought experiment that might make you uncomfortable. If you were dropped naked into an Ice Age winter right now, with all your modern knowledge, how long would you survive? A few hours? Maybe a day if you're lucky. But a Neanderthal child raised in that environment would know exactly what to do. They'd know which lichens to stuff in their boots for insulation, which caves to avoid because they feared a flood, which direction to face when sleeping to minimize heat loss. Their education was survival, and they were experts. Let's talk about something else they mastered. Moisture management. This might not sound exciting, but stay with me because this is actually crucial. In extreme cold, moisture is your enemy. If you sweat and that sweat freezes, you're in trouble. If snow melts against your skin and then refreezes, you can lose fingers and toes to frostbite. So ancient humans had to solve a problem. How do you stay warm without getting dangerously damp? They figured it out through clothing design. Multiple layers of animal skins, each one allowing moisture to escape while trapping heat. The inner layer would absorb sweat. The outer layer would repel snow and wind. The air trapped between layers did the actual insulating. It's exactly the same principle modern outdoor gear uses. Base layers, insulation layers, shell layers. The Caveman 3-layer system, patent pending since 300,000 BC. And their sleeping arrangements reflected this same understanding. The bottom layer in their sleeping areas wasn't just for comfort. Dried grass and moss wickered moisture away from their bodies while they slept. Above that, animal hides provided insulation. The top layer, often a large hide from a mammoth or bison, sealed in heat while allowing some air circulation. They'd crawl into this cocoon at night and their own body heat would create a warm micro-environment. As long as they didn't sweat too much or let in drafts, they could maintain comfortable warmth through the coldest nights. But here's the part that really gets me. The part that makes me respect these ancient humans even more. They shared this knowledge freely. There's no evidence of groups hoarding thermal secrets. When different bands of humans met, they exchanged information. 3 valleys west, there's a cave with warm stones. Near the river bend, the south-facing rocks hold sun warmth into the night. This sharing wasn't just nice, it was species survival. Every piece of knowledge that spread meant more humans living through winter. More children growing up, more of us existing today. Think about that the next time you share something helpful online. You're continuing a tradition that's hundreds of thousands of years old. Humans have always been information sharers. It's literally in our DNA. Now, do you want to know something really wild? Some scientists think this period before fire, this time of maximum cold stress, might have actually accelerated human brain development. The cognitive demands of managing thermal resources, predicting weather patterns, remembering locations, and coordinating group survival might have selected for bigger, more capable brains. In other words, the cold might have made us smarter. The struggle to stay warm might be why we're having this conversation right now. Is that true? Honestly, we don't know for sure. Scientists debate it, but it's a fascinating possibility that our intelligence, everything we are, might be a side effect of trying not to freeze. Before we move on, I want you to do something. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, because you're not just learning history, you're connecting with the deepest roots of human survival. And I promise you, the secrets we're about to uncover next are going to make everything you thought you knew about ancient life completely wrong, in a good way. The living blanket. Let's talk about something we take completely for granted. Clothing. You probably put on clothes this morning without thinking about it. Grabbed whatever was clean, whatever matched, whatever felt comfortable. Done. But for ancient humans, clothing wasn't fashion. It was technology. Life or death technology. The difference between good clothing and bad clothing was literally the difference between seeing another sunrise or dying quietly in the night. So they didn't just throw on random animal skins, they engineered. And what they created was so effective that we're still basically using the same designs today. First, they had to hunt, obviously, but not just any animal would do. They needed specific animals with specific types of fur. Reindeer were gold. Their fur has hollow hairs that trap air incredibly efficiently. Mammoth fur, thick and shaggy, was perfect for outer layers. Fox, rabbit, even rodent furs had their uses for delicate areas like hands and feet. Every animal they killed was a resource to be used completely. Meat for food, bones for tools, sinew for thread, hide for everything else. Now here's where it gets impressive. They couldn't just skin an animal and wear it. Rawhide is stiff, cold, and pretty useless. It has to be processed. They scraped off fat and flesh using stone tools. They stretched and dried the hide to prevent rot. They worked it for hours, sometimes days, rubbing and flexing until it became supple. Then came the real magic. They used bone needles and sinew thread to stitch multiple hides together. Wait, let me stop here because I want you to really picture this. Imagine sitting in a dark cave working by dim light using the needle made from a sharpened bird bone and thread made from animal tendon. Your hands are cold, the material is tough, but you keep going because you know that when winter comes, this piece of clothing might save your child's life. That's not primitive. That's love transformed into craft. And the designs they created weren't random either. Fitted garments that reduced air pockets where heat could escape. Overlapping layers that could be added or removed based on activity level. Hoods and wraps that protected the head and neck, the areas where we lose the most heat. They even created primitive boots by wrapping hides around their feet and stuffing them with dried grass for insulation. Some Neanderthal sites have revealed bone needles so fine, so delicate that they rival anything we could make by hand today. These people were tailors, master craftspeople, and their fabric was fur and hide stitched together with the stunning precision. But here's something that's going to surprise you. Clothing wasn't just for wearing during the day. At night it became bedding. They would take off some layers and pile them on top of themselves and their families, creating a communal blanket of furs. The same clothing that insulated their bodies during waking hours insulated their sleeping forms at night. Nothing was wasted. Everything had multiple purposes. Now let's talk about the controversial part. How much clothing did they actually wear? Some researchers think ancient humans were bundled head to toe, barely any skin exposed. Others argue they wore surprisingly little, even in cold, because too much clothing makes you sweat, and sweat kills in freezing temperatures. Who's right? Probably somewhere in the middle. They likely adjusted constantly based on activity, weather, and available materials. Here's what we know for sure though. When archaeologists examine ancient sleeping sites, they find layers. Not just one hide, but 5, 6, 7 hides piled together. The bottom ones worn and compacted from use, the top ones showing less wear. This tells us they were using clothing and bedding in combination, creating a cocoon of insulation that worked together as one system. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever slept under a really heavy blanket? Like a weighted blanket? Remember how secure it felt? How the pressure and warmth combined to create this sense of safety? Now multiply that feeling by 100. Imagine sleeping under thick, heavy furs in a dark cave with your family pressed close. The weight of the blankets, the warmth of bodies, the soft sound of breathing. In some ways, it might have been the most secure sleep humans have ever experienced. We're so disconnected from that now. We sleep alone in climate-controlled rooms under thin blankets. We never experience the tribal intimacy of shared warmth. Is that better or worse? I'm not sure, but it's definitely different. And here's something else worth thinking about. The work of creating this clothing and bedding system was constant. Hides wore out, stitching came undone, new clothing had to be made as children grew or as garments fell apart. This meant that a significant portion of every day was spent on thermal maintenance, making, repairing, processing. Survival wasn't something they did, it was everything they did. But that work created something unexpected: community bonds. When everyone in a group spends time working together on survival projects, sharing skills, teaching children, working side by side, you create deep connections. The grandmother teaching a child how to stitch, the father showing his son how to scrape a hide, the mother collecting just the right moss to stuff inside boots. These weren't chores. These were the moments that made them human. There's a lesson in that for us. We've outsourced almost everything. We buy clothes made by strangers in distant factories. We adjust thermostats with zero thought to where the heat comes from. We've gained convenience but lost something profound, that sense of self-sufficiency, that knowledge that you can take care of yourself and your people no matter what. I'm not saying we should go back to wearing animal skins, but maybe, just maybe, there's value in remembering that we come from people who knew how to survive with nothing but their hands and their minds. If this is resonating with you, if you're starting to see your ancestors in a new light, hit that like button. Let me know you're feeling this, because we're about to go even deeper. We're about to explore something that's going to make you question everything you think you know about human limits, Stone Age engineers. Alright, let's blow up another myth. The idea that cave people were just lucky to find caves. That they stumbled into holes in the rock and hoped for the best. Wrong. Dead wrong. These people were engineers. They modified their environments with purpose and precision. They turned natural shelters into high-performance thermal systems. Let's start with the floor. In multiple archaeological sites across Europe and Asia, researchers have found something remarkable. Deliberately constructed raised sleeping platforms, not just piles of debris, actual structures, stones arranged to create a base, packed earth on the top, then layers of organic material, grass, moss, leaves, then animal hides. The whole thing elevated 6 inches to a foot off the cave floor. Why? Because cold sinks. The coldest air in any cave settles at the lowest point. By sleeping even slightly elevated, they avoided the worst of the cold. That 6-inch gap made a huge difference in comfort, and the air trapped under the platform added another layer of insulation. Brilliant! Absolutely! Primitive? Not even close. But they didn't stop at beds. They engineered the walls too. In some caves you can still see evidence of mud and clay deliberately smeared onto stone walls. At first, archaeologists thought this was art or ritual, but testing revealed something else. The clay was sealing cracks, blocking drafts, creating an airtight barrier that kept warm air in and cold air out. It's literally the same concept as modern weatherproofing. Same principle, different materials, and the entrance. That's where the real engineering genius shows up. An open cave entrance is a disaster in winter. Wind howls in, warm air rushes out, and everyone freezes. So they built barriers, stacked stones, packed earth, and stretched animal hides across the opening. Not completely sealing it because they needed air circulation, but creating a windbreak that dramatically reduced heat loss. Some sites show evidence of double barriers. one at the very entrance, another deeper inside. This created an airlock effect. Cold air would hit the first barrier and stop. The space between barriers became a buffer zone. Only after passing through both barriers would you reach the warm inner chamber. This is sophisticated architecture. This required understanding airflow, heat transfer, and structural engineering. Now here's where this gets really interesting. Different caves served different purposes. Some were sleeping caves, optimized for warmth. Others were working caves, larger and better ventilated for activities like tool making. Some were storage caves, used to keep meat frozen or hides dry. They didn't just use caves randomly. They created specialized spaces based on thermal properties. How did they know all this? Trial and error over thousands of generations. A family tries sleeping in a cave, it's too cold, someone dies. They don't go back, they try another cave, it's warmer. They survive, they remember. They return, they tell others. Slowly, over centuries, knowledge accumulates. Which caves work, which don't. How to improve the good ones, how to avoid the deadly ones. But here's something that's going to challenge you. Some scientists argue that this knowledge was so valuable, so critical to survival, that it might have been restricted. That certain families or groups controlled information about the best thermal sites, essentially creating the first property rights, the first wealth inequality, based not on gold or power, but on knowledge of where to stay warm. Is that true? We don't know, there's no written record, but it's plausible. If you know where all the warm caves are and others don't, you have leverage. You can trade that information for food, help, or alliance. The seeds of complex society might have been planted in the fight to stay warm. Let me tell you about a specific site that blows my mind. Lazaret Cave in France, occupied around 60,000 years ago. When archaeologists excavated it, they found something incredible. A structured living space with clearly defined areas, a central hearth location even though fire wasn't consistently controlled yet, sleeping areas arranged radially around it, working areas near the entrance where light was better, storage pits dug into the floor, and evidence that people returned to this exact same layout year after year for thousands of years. This wasn't random, this was urban planning. Before cities, before agriculture, before writing. These people organized space with intention. They optimized their environment for survival and comfort. And you want to know the craziest part? The layout of Lazaret Cave resembles the layout of traditional homes in cold climate cultures all over the world. Central heat source, sleeping areas around the edges, working space near entrances. The design principles that worked 60,000 years ago still work today. We didn't improve them, we just changed the materials. So when someone calls these people primitive, remember this. They created thermal engineering solutions that modern architects still study. They built structures that lasted for millennia. They passed on knowledge with perfect accuracy through oral tradition. What have you built that will last 60,000 years? Now let me ask you something personal. Do you know how to make your home more energy efficient? Do you understand how heat moves through your space? Most of us don't. We just pay the heating bill and complain when it's high. But these ancient humans, they had to understand their lives depended on it. Maybe it's time we reconnect with that knowledge. Not because we need to survive winter in a cave, but because understanding our environment, understanding thermal dynamics, understanding how to be comfortable without wasting resources, these are valuable skills. Skills our ancestors would expect us to have. If you're learning something valuable here, something you didn't know before, smash that like button and drop a comment telling me what surprised you most so far, because we're about to shift gears. We're about to talk about something even more fascinating. The human body itself, how it became a furnace, how movement and metabolism turned into survival tools. Stay with me. The body's secret furnace. Let's talk about something most people never think about. Your body is a machine, a biological heat engine. Even sitting perfectly still right now, you're producing about 100 watts of thermal energy. That's enough to power a light bulb. Just from existing. Just from the chemical reactions keeping you alive. Now imagine you're an ancient human. You don't have fire, you don't have electricity, but you do have this built-in furnace. And if you're clever, if you understand how it works, you can use it. Ancient humans figured this out. They became masters of metabolic heat management. First, movement. Every time you move a muscle, you generate heat. When you walk, run, work, or even shiver, you're burning calories and producing thermal energy. Ancient humans understood this instinctively. Before settling in for the night, they moved. They worked. They kept active until the last possible moment. By the time they lay down, to sleep, their core body temperature was elevated. Their muscles were warm. They were human radiators. And here's something that might surprise you. Shivering isn't a failure, it's a feature. When your body gets cold, it triggers rapid muscle contractions, shivering. This burns calories fast and produces heat. It's an emergency furnace built into your biology. Ancient humans didn't fight shivering. They used it strategically. A few minutes of controlled shivering could boost core temperature enough to make sleep possible. But there's more. Diet played a huge role. High-fat foods produce more metabolic heat during digestion. Animal fat, especially from cold climate animals like seals or reindeer, is incredibly calorie-dense. When ancient humans ate fatty meat before sleeping, they were essentially stoking their internal fires. The digestion process itself produced warmth that lasted hours into the night. They probably didn't understand the biochemistry, but they noticed the pattern. Eat fatty meat before sleep, stay warmer. Eat lean meat, get colder. Simple observation leading to effective strategy. Now let's talk about something controversial: cold adaptation. Some researchers believe that ancient humans, especially Neanderthals, might have been biologically adapted to cold in ways modern humans aren't. Possibly more brown adipose tissue, the special fat that generates heat. Possibly more efficient blood flow to extremities, possibly higher basal metabolic rates. Others argue no, they were exactly like us biologically. No special adaptations, just better survival skills. This debate gets heated, pardon the pun, because it touches on questions of human evolution and racial differences. Uncomfortable territory, but important to explore. Here's what we know for certain. Humans are remarkably adaptable. Modern studies of people living in extreme cold, like the Inuit or Siberian populations, show physiological changes within a single lifetime. Better cold tolerance, more efficient heat conservation, improved circulation. The human body can learn to handle cold better through exposure. So ancient humans living in Ice Age conditions year after year, generation after generation, would have developed this adaptation. Not genetic necessarily, but physiological. Their bodies would have become better at the cold through practice. And they taught their children. From birth, Ice Age babies experienced cold. Their bodies never knew anything else. By the time they were adults, cold was normal. Their baseline. They wouldn't have experienced it as suffering the way a modern person would. It was just life. Think about that. Your experience of temperature is relative. If you live your entire life in climate-controlled comfort, going outside in 50-degree weather feels cold. But if you've never known warmth above 50 degrees, that's normal. Comfortable even. Ancient humans didn't sit around thinking, I wish I was warmer. They thought this is fine. Their expectations were calibrated to their reality. But let's talk about the real secret weapon. The one that made everything else possible. Sleep efficiency. Modern humans, especially in developed countries, are terrible sleepers. We stay up late, we wake up repeatedly, we require 8 hours to feel rested. But that's not how humans evolved to sleep. Studies of hunter-gatherer societies still living traditional lifestyles show different patterns. Segmented sleep. They sleep for a few hours, wake up naturally, stay awake for an hour or two, then sleep again. This pattern might be more natural than our modern 8-hour block, and it has thermal advantages. During the wake periods, they could check the fire if they had one, adjust bedding, move closer together, or even do light work. Then when they slept again, they did so deeply, efficiently. Their bodies knew how to extract maximum rest from minimum time, and in cold conditions, this matters. Deep sleep lowers your metabolic rate. You burn fewer calories, you conserve energy, but you also produce less heat. So sleeping in short, deep cycles with brief wake periods might have been the optimal strategy. Sleep deep enough to rest, but not so continuously that you got dangerously cold. Did ancient humans consciously choose this pattern? Probably not, but natural selection would have favoured people who slept this way. The ones who woke up periodically to check their children, adjust furs or shift position would have been more likely to survive. And over thousands of generations, those traits would have become common. So when modern sleep experts tell you to sleep 8 hours straight, they might be giving bad advice. At least from an evolutionary perspective, your body might be designed for something different. Now here's my question for you. When was the last time you really listened to your body? Not your mind with all its anxieties and schedules, but your body. When it wants to sleep, when it wants to wake, how it wants to move. We've disconnected from that wisdom, but it's still there, waiting to be remembered. And that's what this whole journey is really about. Not just learning how ancient humans survived, but remembering that their wisdom lives in us. Their adaptations are our adaptations. Their resilience is our resilience. We're not weak modern humans descended from strong ancients. We are them, just wearing different clothes. If that thought gives you chills, good. That's your body recognizing truth. And if you want more of this, more exploration of our forgotten capabilities, subscribe right now, because there's so much more to discover, and we're just getting warmed up. Sound, light, and ancient wisdom. Close your eyes for a second. Really do it. Now imagine absolute sense not quiet. True silence, no hum of electricity, no distant traffic, no refrigerator buzz, nothing. That's what ancient night sounded like. And in that silence, every sound meant something. The drip of water, the scratch of claws on stone, the breathing of others nearby. Sound was information, and ancient humans learned to read it like we read text messages. But more than that, they learned to use sound as a tool, particularly in caves where acoustics were strange. Cave acoustics do weird things. Certain chambers amplify sound, others deaden it. And the interesting thing is, many of the caves with the most dramatic prehistoric art are also caves with powerful acoustic properties. Coincidence? Maybe not. Some researchers believe ancient humans chose certain cave locations specifically because of how sound behaved there. A low hum or chant in these acoustic chambers would resonate and amplify, making a small group sound like many, creating vibrations you could feel in your chest. This wasn't just cool, it served a purpose. Group chanting or rhythmic sound would have created a sense of unity, synchronized the group's breathing and heartbeat, produced a meditative, calming state, and in that calm state the perceived cold would have decreased. Pain tolerance goes up when you're in a meditative state. Anxiety goes down, body temperature regulation improves. So by using sound strategically, ancient humans could literally make themselves more comfortable without changing anything physical. just by creating the right acoustic environment. And then there's light. Before fire, light meant sun and moon. That's it. But they learned to maximize even that limited light. Caves facing east would catch morning sun. South-facing caves captured midday light that would warm the rock. That rock would hold heat and radiate it slowly through the afternoon and evening. Passive solar heating, 300,000 years before anyone called it that. Some caves have natural mineral formations, calcite crystals, quartz deposits. These catch and reflect even tiny amounts of light, making dark spaces just slightly less dark. Ancient humans probably chose some caves partly because these reflective minerals made them less terrifying at night. And here's something beautiful. Some cave walls, when damp, would sparkle with those minerals, creating the effect of stars inside the cave. Imagine lying in total darkness and seeing tiny points of light glittering on the ceiling above you. Not understanding it's just minerals and moisture, thinking perhaps it's magic, or spirits, or the gods watching over you. That sense of the sacred, of living in a magical world, might have started from simple geology, but it mattered. It gave meaning to their suffering, comfort in the darkness. Now let's talk about fire. Not fire they made, but fire they found. Lightning strikes would occasionally start forest fires. The smoke and glow would be visible for miles. Ancient humans would have been drawn to these fires like moths, both terrified and fascinated. At first, they probably just watched, felt the warmth from a distance, but eventually someone brave or desperate enough would have approached, felt the incredible heat, maybe picked up a burning branch and carried it. For a few precious hours or days, that branch would have been the most valuable thing in existence. Light and warmth that went wherever they went. Keeping that branch alive would have been a full-time job, blowing on it gently to feed oxygen, adding dry leaves or grass, protecting it from wind and rain, and when it finally died, going back to the cold and dark would have been devastating. But that experience, brief as it was, planted an idea. That warmth didn't have to come from the earth or from bodies. It could come from this bright, dancing, dangerous thing, fire. And once humans had tasted that power, they couldn't forget it. They spent generations trying to figure out how to make it themselves. In the meantime, they worked with what they had. Sound and stone and starlight, creating environments that were psychologically warm even when physically cold, finding beauty in darkness, finding connection in silence. And this, right here, might be the most important thing I want you to understand. Survival isn't just physical, it's mental and emotional. Ancient humans survived the cold not only because they had good techniques, but because they had our meaning, purpose, each other. They didn't see themselves as victims of a harsh world, they saw themselves as part of it, connected to it. We've lost that. We see nature as something weird, something to protect ourselves from. We build walls and barriers, we create artificial environments and call it progress. And maybe it is, but we've also lost something valuable, that sense of belonging to the earth, of being a natural part of the ecosystem, of trusting that if we're clever and careful and connected to each other, we'll be okay. Your ancestors knew that, deep in their bones, and that knowledge is still in you. Under all the modern anxiety and disconnection, the wisdom is there, waiting. If this is touching something in you, something you can't quite name, let me know, comment below, tell me what you're feeling, because we're about to explore something even deeper. The way darkness and cold actually brought humans closer together, the way hardship created love. Day close. When darkness taught us connection. Here's a truth that's uncomfortable for our modern world. Hardship creates connection. Not always, not automatically. But when hardship is shared, when survival depends on cooperation, something beautiful happens. People bond in ways that comfort could never create. Ancient humans lived this reality. Cold that would kill an individual became survivable for a group. Darkness that would drive a lone person insane became peaceful when shared with others. The very things that threatened them became the glue that held them together. Let's talk about trust. Real trust. Not the kind where you trust someone to show up on time, but the kind where you trust them with your life. In those cold caves, that's what existed. You had to trust that the person on the outside of the sleeping cluster wouldn't leave, that the person holding the last bit of dried meat would share, that the elder teaching fire-making techniques was telling the truth. Without that trust, the group died. With it, they thrived. So trust wasn't optional, it was everything. And that created bonds stronger than anything most modern people experience. Think about your relationships. How many people would you trust with your life? Actually die for, or let them make life or death decisions for you? For most of us, that's a very short list. Parents maybe, a spouse or partner, close friends, but probably not many. For ancient humans, that circle was larger, not because they were better people, but because survival demanded it. Everyone in your group was in that inner circle, by necessity. You knew their breathing patterns, you knew how they moved in sleep, you knew their fears and strengths, because you'd survived countless nights pressed against them in the dark. That intimacy, that deep knowing of other humans, created something we rarely experience now. Genuine community. Not the shallow version where you wave at neighbours, but the kind where you're emotionally and physically intertwined with your people. And children raised in this environment learned trust and cooperation from birth. They never knew isolation. They were always surrounded by bodies and voices and warmth. Their first memories would have been of community, of belonging. They didn't have to learn social skills through awkward trial and error like modern children. It was wired into them through constant exposure. Some psychologists believe this early intense socialization might have shaped human emotional development in profound ways, that we're wired for close community because that's how we evolved. And that modern loneliness, despite being surrounded by millions of people, comes from not having the kind of intimate tribal connections our brains expect. Is that true? Maybe, but it's interesting to think about. That the anxiety and depression plaguing modern society might partly come from being too warm and too alone, too comfortable and too disconnected. Now let me tell you about something researchers found that absolutely fascinates me. In several prehistoric sites, they have discovered what appear to be communal childcare arrangements. Sleeping areas where multiple families kept their children together in the warmest spot while adults slept in a ring around them. This wasn't just practical, it was revolutionary. It meant that children weren't just the responsibility of their parents. They belonged to the group. Everyone protected them. Everyone taught them. Everyone loved them. The whole community raised every child. That model still exists in some traditional societies. The idea that it takes a village isn't just a saying. It's how humans raise children for most of our existence. The nuclear family, mom, and dad and kids alone in a house is incredibly recent. And maybe not ideal. Think about how different your childhood would have been if you'd been raised by a community of loving adults instead of just one or two. More perspectives, more skills taught, more emotional support, more security, maybe less pressure on parents who are doing their best but are exhausted and alone. But I digress, back to the cold. Because here's what I really want you to understand. The cold wasn't just something to endure, it was a teacher. It taught prioritization. What really matters when you might not survive the night? Food, warmth, and people. That's it. Everything else falls away. In our modern world, we stress about a million things: status, money, appearance, success. But our ancient ancestors had clarity. Survive today, take care of your people, wake up tomorrow. That simplicity, forced by hardship, might have made them mentally healthier than we are, despite living in much worse conditions. They didn't have existential anxiety about finding purpose. Their purpose was obvious. They didn't have decision paralysis about what to do with their lives. The path was clear. They didn't have imposter syndrome or fear of missing out. Those concepts wouldn't have made sense. Now, I'm not romanticizing their lives. They had it hard. Child mortality was high. Injuries that we'd fix with simple medicine would kill you. Life expectancy was short. It wasn't a paradise, but it was psychologically simpler. And there's value in simplicity. So when you lie down tonight in your warm bed, alone or with one other person, in your climate-controlled room, ask yourself, am I happier than they were? Am I more content? Do I have deeper relationships? Do I feel more secure? The answer might surprise you. We have more comfort than any humans in history, but we might have less of what actually makes humans happy: connection, purpose, and community, the things that the cold forced ancient humans to create. If you're feeling this, if this is making you think differently about your own life, do me a favor, share this video, send it to someone who needs to hear this, because this isn't just about ancient history. This is about us, now, today, and what we might need to change. Alright, we need to talk about the moment everything shifted, the moment humans went from borrowing warmth to creating it, the moment fire stopped being a wild, uncontrollable force and became a tool, because that moment changed everything, forever. The first spark changes everything. Nobody knows exactly when it happened, the first time a human deliberately created fire. But it happened somewhere, somehow. Someone struck two stones together and saw a spark, and instead of letting it die, they fed it, and flame was born. Imagine being that person. Imagine the first time you held real fire in your hand, fire that you created, not found, not borrowed from a lightning strike, but made with your own hands. The power that must have felt like, the terror and exhilaration mixed together. Because make no mistake, fire is terrifying. It moves like it's alive, it breathes, it grows, it consumes everything in its path. To deliberately create that, to invite that danger into your home took incredible courage, or incredible desperation. But once they did it, once they mastered that first spark, everything changed. Not overnight. It took generations to really figure it out. But slowly, steadily, fire transformed human existence. First, the obvious. Warmth became reliable. Instead of hoping for a cave with geothermal heat, you carried heat with you. Instead of depending on body heat alone, you had a furnace that could warm dozens of people. Suddenly, places that were uninhabitable became livable. The entire world opened up, but it was more than that. Fire created time. Before fire, darkness meant sleep. You couldn't do anything productive after sunset, but with fire, night became an extension of day. You could work on tools, tell stories, teach children, plan for tomorrow. The amount of productive time in a human life essentially doubled. And that extra time created culture. Art happens around fires. Stories are told around fires. Knowledge is shared around fires. Before fire, humans were smart animals. After fire, they became something more. Cultural beings, storytellers, dreamers. The hearth became the center of human life, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. It was where the family gathered, where strangers became friends, where children learned what it meant to be human. Everything important happened in that orange glow, and fire changed diet. Cooked food is easier to digest. It unlocks more calories. It kills parasites. Suddenly humans could eat a wider variety of foods. They could get more nutrition from less. They could support larger brains. Some scientists think cooking directly led to brain development, that we got smarter because fire let us eat better. Think about that. Fire didn't just keep us warm, it made us intelligent. The warmth that saved us from cold also made us capable of everything that came after. Language, art, science, civilization, all of it traces back to that first spark. But fire also created inequality. Before fire, everyone had access to basically the same survival tools, but fire required skill, knowledge, maintenance. Not everyone could make it. Not everyone could keep it alive, so the people who controlled fire controlled power. The first hierarchy, the first-class system, based on warmth. Is that tragic, or just inevitable? I don't know, but it's interesting that the thing that united us around hearths also divided us into those who could create fire and those who couldn't. The firekeeper became essential, respected, sometimes feared, the beginning of specialized roles in society, and fire created permanence. Before fire, humans moved constantly, following animals, following seasons, but fire is hard to move. It's easier to keep a fire burning than to start a new one, so once you had fire, you stayed. You built structures around it. You invested in that location. Slowly, nomadic life gave way to settlements, and settlements became villages, and villages became cities, all starting with a fire too valuable to abandon. But here's the question nobody asks. Did fire make us better? Are we improved by not having to deal with cold? Or did we lose something valuable when we insulated ourselves from discomfort? I think about this a lot. Ancient humans were tougher than us. Not physically necessarily, but mentally. They dealt with hardships we can't imagine. And they didn't complain. They just handled it. They adapted. They survived. Do we have that anymore? Or have we become soft, dependent on comfort? When the power goes out and the heat stops working, modern people panic. We don't know what to do. We've forgotten everything our ancestors knew, and that's dangerous. Not because we'll face Ice Age conditions again, but because resilience is valuable. The ability to handle discomfort, to solve problems, to survive without convenience. Those are skills we've lost, but they're still in us, buried under layers of modern comfort, waiting. And maybe that's the real lesson of this entire story, that when we understand where we came from, when we connect with our ancestral wisdom, we remember what we're capable of. We're not weak, we're not helpless, we're descended from the toughest survivors in history, and that strength is our birthright. If that resonates with you, if you're feeling that connection to your ancestors right now, let me know. Comment. Tell me what you're feeling. Because we're almost at the end of this journey. But the most important part is coming. The part that connects everything to your life right now. It shapes the human mind. Fire gave humans warmth. But what it really gave them was freedom. Freedom from cold, yes. But more importantly, freedom from fear. The night had always been terrifying. Predators hunted in darkness, but fire pushed them back. The flames created a bubble of safety. Inside that bubble, humans could relax for the first time. And when you can relax, when you're not in constant survival mode, your brain does something interesting. It creates, it imagines, it wonders. Advanced anthropologists think this is when art really began. Not just simple cave paintings, which existed before fire, but complex, beautiful, meaningful art. Stories told through images, because art requires mental space. You can't create beauty when you're terrified and freezing, but warm and safe around a fire with time to think. Suddenly art becomes possible. Music becomes possible. Complex language becomes possible. The things we consider uniquely human all flourished after fire. And fire changed sleep. Before fire, sleep was about survival. You slept as much as you could because there was nothing else to do in the dark. But with fire, sleep became a choice. You could stay up, talk, work, dream. The quality of sleep changed too. Knowing that fire kept predators away, humans could sleep deeper, more peacefully, with less anxiety. REM sleep, the stage where we dream most vividly, requires feeling safe. It's hard to enter REM if your brain thinks you might be attacked. Fire created that safety, and with it, dreaming became richer. Maybe this is when humans started believing in spirits and gods and other worlds. When their dreams became vivid enough to feel real. Fire also changed relationships. Before fire, darkness isolated people. You couldn't see faces, couldn't read expressions. Communication was limited. But around a fire, faces became visible. You could see smiles, tears, anger, love. The subtlety of human emotion could be read and responded to. This deepened empathy, strengthened bonds, made love more nuanced. Couples could sit together and actually see each other. Parents could watch their children sleep and see their peaceful faces. The visibility that fire created made humans more emotionally connected, more capable of complex relationships. Some researchers even think this is when pair bonding became stronger, when monogamy became more common, because you could actually see and know your partner in ways darkness never allowed. And fire created memory in a new way. Around a fire, stories could be told and retold. The flickering light made storytellers look magical. Shadows danced. Imagination ran wild. And those stories, repeated night after night, became cultural memory, the beginning of history. Before writing, before any recording technology, fire circles were where knowledge was preserved. Imagine sitting around a fire hearing your grandfather tell the story his grandfather told him about the Great Winter, the clever trick that saved the tribe, the mistakes to avoid, the wisdom earned through suffering. That story would be burned into your memory, literally associated with the warmth and safety of fire. You'd never forget it, and you'd tell it to your children. That's how culture survived. Not through books, through firelight and repetition and emotion. The most important knowledge. The things that kept people alive were wrapped in stories and passed down through flames. But fire also created waste. For the first time, humans consumed resources faster than nature could replace them. Forest near settlements disappeared. Animals fled from smoke and light. The environmental impact of human fire use began immediately, and we've never stopped. Is fire a blessing or a curse? Both. It gave us everything: warmth, light, culture, civilization. But it also started us on a path of consumption that might destroy the world. The same fire that saved us from the cold is now warming the planet dangerously. The circle is complete. The thing that protected us from freezing might end up burning us. What do we do with that knowledge? I don't have an answer, but I think about it. And I think our ancestors, if they could see us now, would be amazed and horrified. Amazed at our power, horrified at our carelessness. They respected fire, feared it, understood that it was dangerous. We've forgotten that. We take it for granted. Turn it on and off without thought. Maybe we need to remember that fire is borrowed power, that warmth is a gift, that comfort should never be thoughtless. Our ancestors knew that. Maybe we should relearn it. If you've made it this far, thank you. Seriously. You've taken a journey through time with me, and I hope it's changed how you think about warmth, about comfort, about your place in this long story of human survival. We're not done yet, though. One more chapter, the one that brings this all home. Stay with me. From hearth to empire. Fire spread across the world. Wherever humans went, flames followed, and something remarkable happened. Different cultures, separated by oceans and mountains, all developed the same reverence for fire, the same rituals, the same understanding that fire was sacred. From the fire temples of Persia to the sacred hearths of Greece and Rome, from the ceremonial fires of indigenous peoples across every continent to the eternal flames kept burning in temples worldwide, humanity collectively agreed, fire is holy. Why? Because fire represents life itself. It consumes, it grows, it breathes, it dies. Just like we do, it's the perfect symbol for existence, and every culture recognized that, not through communication but through intuition, through the same experience of sitting in darkness and being saved by light. As humans built civilizations, fire remained central. Cities were designed around fire. Forges, kilns, ovens, hearths. Every technology depended on heat. Pottery, metallurgy, glassmaking, cooking. Fire was the engine of progress, the force that turned raw materials into tools and tools into empires. And the people who controlled fire controlled power. Blacksmiths were respected, feared even. They turned stone into metal, earth into weapons. They had knowledge others didn't. In many cultures, smiths were considered magicians, not fully human, touched by the divine, because what they did seemed impossible, taking cold stone and transforming it into glowing liquid metal, then shaping that metal into anything imaginable. That's magic, or close enough. Fire also created war. Better weapons made through fire made some groups more powerful. They conquered others, built empires, the Bronze Age, the Iron Age, named after metals. But really they should be named after fire, because fire made the metals. Fire created the tools of conquest, and with empire came complexity, specialization. Some people farmed, others made tools, others governed. Society became layered. The simple equality of the fire circle, where everyone was just trying to survive together, disappeared, replaced by hierarchy, class, power structures. Is that fire's fault or just human nature? Probably both. Fire gave us the power to create surplus, and surplus creates inequality. When there's more food than everyone needs, some people accumulate extra. They become powerful, they create rules, they build systems that favor themselves, and civilization, with all its beauty and horror, emerges. But through all of this, through all the change and complication, the hearth remained. In every home, no matter how humble or grand, fire burned. The family gathered around it. Children played near it. Stories were told beside it. The essence of human connection, forged in those cold caves so long ago, continued. The hearth was home, always. Even today, when most of us don't need fire for heat, we still create them. Fireplaces in living rooms, candles on tables, fire pits in backyards. We're drawn to flame instinctively, because somewhere deep in our DNA is the memory. The fire means safety. Fire means home. Fire means we're going to be okay. And that brings us to now. To you. lying in bed or sitting comfortably, warm, safe. The world outside might be chaos, but you're okay. For this moment you have what your ancestors fought for. Warmth, shelter, peace, they would be proud. All those generations struggling through ice and cold and darkness, they did it for this, for you, so you could exist, so you could have an easy life, so you wouldn't have to suffer like they did. But I wonder, are we honouring their sacrifice? Are we using this comfort, this safety, this freedom from suffering to become better, kinder, wiser? Or are we wasting it, taking it for granted, becoming soft and entitled and disconnected from the strength that built us? That's not a judgment. It's a question, one I ask myself constantly, because I have it easy. Easy compared to them, and I'm not sure I'm living up to it, to the gift they gave me through their endurance. But maybe awareness is the first step. Maybe remembering where we came from, understanding what they went through, reconnecting with that ancestral wisdom. Maybe that's how we honour them. By knowing, by not forgetting, by carrying the memory of the cold and the dark and the struggle so that we appreciate the warmth and the light and the ease. So here's what I want you to do. Tomorrow or the next day, find a moment, a quiet moment, and think about them, your ancient ancestors. Picture them in that cave, huddled together, breathing slowly in the dark. Feel the connection. Thank them for surviving, for enduring, for doing what needed to be done so that eventually, thousands of years later, you could exist. And then ask yourself, what am I doing that's worthy of them? What am I contributing? How am I using this gift of comfort and safety and opportunity? You don't have to have an answer, but asking the question matters because they're not gone. They're in you. Every cell, every breath, every heartbeat. You are them, continued. And the story isn't over. It's still being written by you right now. So make it good, make it worthy, make them proud. Thank you for taking this journey with me. Through the cold and into the warmth, through the darkness and into the light. If this moved you, if it changed something in you, subscribe, share it. Tell someone else, because this story, the story of how humans learn to survive and thrive and create beauty in the harshest conditions, this is our story, and it deserves to be told. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, stay warm, stay connected, and remember, the flame they lit is still burning, inside you, always. Good night, sleep well, and dream of those distant fires glowing in ancient caves, carrying us forward through time.